Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Draft to the Future. That is Ryan doing social media things, and I am Matt. I am social media ignorant, so he's going to take care of that. Today, we're talking transfer portal and all things related to the transfer portal. I posted my immediate reaction to the college football championship. Big congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers. And I just want to reiterate my main point. I feel like this is the greatest team, player for player, working in harmony performance I've ever seen. Before Ryan reaches through the screen and punches me, that is very different than the LSU, which is the greatest collection of talent I've ever seen. So when I say it's the greatest team, I don't mean that each player is better. I mean, I've never seen 50, 90, I don't know how many humans are on a college football roster, but I've never seen human for human, everyone where they're supposed to be, doing their job, working together across the season. Believe it or not, like the Natty, and all credit to Miami, the Natty was not Indiana's best game by a long shot, but in their worst game, they were still just a better unified team. Because again, like all the best players were on the other side of the field. I'd even argue that Beck actually had a better game than Mendoza. But that team, Mendoza didn't make the mistake. Beck did. Just the discipline and the unity is what I'm speaking toward. Collection of talent. That 2019 LSU, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So that's the I just wanted to reiterate that because I'm gonna give Ryan a turn on the mic, but before he corrected me, I'm like, no, make sure you know what I'm saying. Because it's not what you might be hearing. All right, Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, for me, it was one of those things that from the first series, I was like, oh, Indiana's going to win. I was pretty sure they were going to win anyways. I mean, they are from the best conference, so that makes sense. But I just kept watching, and even when it was close, I never felt like it was close. It was one of those things that the score says something different than what I think the actual game was. I never really questioned if Indiana was going to win, and I even was expecting Beck at some point, and it happened, and I wish the best for the kid, but it's just kind of like the knack that he has. Yeah, it was a great game, and Indiana, they have loaded up in the portal, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And I think they're going to be in a really good position again to push for a repeat. So good year in the college football playoff. You like to see, unless it's a team you hate, you like to see a new team win. So that's always fun.
But so you mentioned a thing, and that got me doing things. Sorry for the audio pop. I had to mute the pop up video that came up. I agree with you that the Big Ten is currently the best conference in college football, but I want to, and I don't necessarily have skin in the game. Right now, the Big Ten is on a 3-game streak. And this is after a 4-game streak for the SEC, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. And then Clemson had a few good years. Alabama was in between them all. Then Ohio State said hello, Florida State, because the ACC gets one every 10 years. Then it's Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Florida, Texas, who was Big 12 back then. So the Big Ten has a lot of ground to gain to overcome the SEC in the dominance across the ages. Right now, obviously, they're on a 3-game run, but I was a little surprised because that 3-game run came on the heels of a 4-game SEC, a 4-year SEC train.
Yeah, I mean, it's different now that everyone's getting paid, not just the SEC.
So that there's nothing we talked off screen I want you to chime in on. Topic bar. Is Indiana the favorite for next year?
I think that they should be, and that's partially because of my views on the people they brought in. which again we'll talk about those throughout this show. But yeah, I think Indiana should be the favorite. I think Ohio State might end up being the one that ends up being the preseason number one, though.
All right. Well, I just want to throw those out there because now we got to talk about transfer portal stuff.
Yeah. So transfer portal. Before we actually get into the individual players, it has been chaotic. This has been probably but it has been the craziest transfer portal ever. There was over 10,000 people that got into the portal. There's several thousand guys that are still without a home, and that's something that's really kind of scary as a player when you're thinking about the portal going forward, because you've got thousands of players still that don't have a home for next year. And there's been tons of reports of guys going back to the school that they were leaving and saying, hey, can I come back? And they're like, oh, we filled your spot already. There's no scholarship anymore. And so you've got a lot of guys that are realizing their football career is over now. And maybe they'll get another shot, but the portal's cruel. You got to have a plan. Like, Gideon Lamprin that we interviewed, he had a clear plan, worked with his agent, his representation, and made a decision based on where he knew he was going to get on the field. And so I think that's really important to think about. So what are your thoughts on so I put that there was a lot of guys from the FBS that went to lower schools like FCS schools or smaller FBS schools because they didn't get play time. Do you think that proves our argument that you need to go to a place just to get on the field?
Well, I don't know if it proves that you need to, but it does show that players agree with our mindset. Like players, he's stuck with you, but I think that'll work out. I think that'll work out for you guys. I think that players see what we see. You need snaps, and to get snaps, you need to get on the field. And so they will go anywhere to get on the field. And it's mostly because it's the Wild Wild West. So you go in there, you get on the field, and then you can always level up because someone's going to want to poach you. Now, you can't, based on what Ryan was saying earlier, you can't overestimate yourself.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and be like, oh, no, I'm going to hit the portal and like, surely someone will want me. And I don't know that that's true. But if you go anywhere and you ball out, one of my favorite examples is coming up down the road. Like they're going to find you and they're going to take you. And so I hope a lot of these guys, like as things are really getting dialed in, like I don't care how small the school is, maintaining my eligibility at this point. If I'm one of those players who don't have a home, I'll play for, I've never heard of it, Directional State. Anywhere that lets me on the team. Like at that point in time, protecting your eligibility is more important.
Yeah.
A brief tangent on AWF's point. Mendoza is not declared.
That's true. I believe he will probably very soon. But
I think that's a lock. I think it's a done deal. I think it's the worst kept secret. I think Mendoza wants to be a Raider. And
he's gonna be the kindest, sweetest Raider ever.
In Vegas.
The Raiders are all about grit and toughness, and they got all that stuff on all their fans, and then you've got this little sweetheart.
Yeah. I just want to see Mendoza in a side-by-side interview with Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And that will
the duality of man.
That will be my my favorite moment. But
all right, so let's go ahead and get into the players. So we're just going to run through these players. We're not going to spend a ton of time in each one. We'll spend more time on the quarterbacks, which we're going to save for last. But let's get right into it. So I'm going to run through these, and then we'll give any extra thoughts if we have any. But we've got LJ Phillips.
Right quick, hold on. Before you go down that list, what's the total number of players we're about to burn through?
Something like 130, 140.
Yeah. So get your notepads out. Get ready to pause it at whatever screen.
Approximately 1% of the players that were in the portal.
Yeah. So we're going through more than 100, almost 200. So we're going by position. So if
Yep.
you have a position you care about, quarterbacks are last. Um, but just know we're going fast and furious, and we're only going to talk about guys we really, really want to talk about.
Yeah, so we got LJ Phillips, South Dakota to Iowa. That's an FCS to FBS move. Trey Page, Tarleton State to Oklahoma State. Landon Chambers, Central Arkansas to UCF. Marcus Gillis, Delaware State to Arizona State. Caleb Hawkins, following his coach from North Texas to Oklahoma State. Justice Haynes, Michigan to Georgia Tech. Hollywood Smothers, NC State to Texas. And then Raleek Brown, Arizona State to Texas. Who do you want to talk about from there, Matt?
So I'll go with Justice Haynes because now Ryan has permission to not hate him anymore. It was surprising to see him hit the portal, but when you're a 5-star guy with elite traits and you go to the ACC, especially Georgia Tech, you created a recipe to really shine as a running back. You leave Michigan because they might run with that quarterback more than they throw. You're looking for touches and you're looking for a chance to dominate. And I think Haynes put himself in as good a position as you can while staying in the Power Four.
Yeah. One guy I want to talk about, I want to talk about two different groups of people here. First, LJ Phillips. LJ Phillips was going to be my sleeper in this year's draft class if he declared. He had 1,900 yards and 19 touchdowns out of South Dakota. You watch his film, and he should not have been in the FCS. That's what it looked like. He was like, this young man should not be playing with these people. And now he's going to Iowa behind a very good offensive line historically. He could have an insane season, so that's going to be someone to watch for sure. And then a pair of running backs going to Texas. Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown. Raleek Brown's more of like the heavy hitter. He's the guy that hits hard. And then Hollywood Smothers is that fast, shifty guy. So you've got this 2,000-yard rushing running backs going to Texas to play with Arch behind a good offensive line. That's going to be something that's interesting to watch. The like snap share too. So anything else on those ones, or you want to move on?
No, let's move on.
All right. So some more running backs. Adam Muhammad, Washington to Cal. Bryson Washington, Baylor to Auburn. Mekhi Hughes, Oregon to Houston. James Peoples, Ohio State to Penn State. Cam Cook, TCU originally, then to Jacksonville State last year, and then to West Virginia. Evan Pryor, Cincinnati to Florida. CJ Baxter, Texas to Kentucky. Turbo Richard, Boston College to Indiana. And Jaheim White, West Virginia to North Texas. Anyone you want to talk about there?
There are two guys I want to shout out. I don't know about you, but there are two guys on here I want to mention. My guy, Mekhi Hughes, looked great. I was really high on him coming into last year, and he fell victim to a dominant offensive line with freshmen who are a little more burst, a little more breakaway speed than Hughes has. Hughes has always been like a churner, like a bruising possession back, and that's going to do him service in Houston. I hope he gets the touches he deserves. I've always thought he was like a solid third round. I said early on in one of my earliest videos that he reminds me of Frank Gore. And Frank Gore, I love him to death. And what ended up happening is Frank Gore had a lot of long runs, but he never had the like breakaway speed that some guys covet, and neither does Hughes. But Hughes is like automatic 5 yards, and he'll show that. Did you have a guy you want to talk about before I move to the next guy?
Two guys, Peoples and Pryor, are both guys that were like flash players. They both had moments of flashiness at Cincinnati and Ohio State, but didn't get really the snaps that those flashes would warrant. So I think that going to now Florida and Penn State, with Penn State losing a couple running backs, most likely, that's going to allow them both to get more snaps. I'll be interested to see what they do.
So the guy I wanted to talk about is CJ Baxter. I think this is really kind of sneaky. Baxter Baxter was not bad, but going to that system over to Kentucky, that's where the Oregon dude shifted over,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And he put himself in a spot, and Kentucky is, in my opinion, trying to replicate what Indiana's already done.
Yeah.
And CJ Baxter is a nice piece. Uh, Someone who just needed a shot. But he's also one of those guys who he takes a minute to warm up, and so he's going to get his carries in Kentucky. He's going to get his ops there, and I kind of sneaky like that one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. All right, so I think that's it for running backs. On to our wide receivers. So this is one of the only ones that I have written down that went from FBS to FCS, which is Dorian Williams from Ohio State to Youngstown State. We got Nico Brown jumping from Yale to either Michigan State or UCLA. It hasn't been decided yet, but those are the two he's looking at. Lorenzo Fenner out of South Dakota is going to Cincinnati. Reed Swanson from Colgate to Boston College. Jared Richardson, Penn to Duke. Cam Coleman, Auburn to Texas. Amarian Miller, Colorado to Arizona State. Quincy Porter, Ohio State to Notre Dame. And Nick Marsh, Michigan State to Indiana. Who you got?
Honestly, my favorite receivers on this slide. Cam Coleman is probably my wide receiver 2 coming
Okay.
coming into the next year. I only saw like three games of him, and the guy is just dominant. He screams off the tape. I don't understand why people haven't been talking about. Maybe because he wasn't necessarily playing for like a great quarterback, but you've just paired arguably the second best receiver in college football with a guy who people think is going to be in contention for the best quarterback in football. I love Cam Coleman to Texas.
Yeah. A couple of the small guys, Lorenzo Fenner from South Dakota. He had over 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. And he's going to Cincinnati, who's losing some guys. And then also Reed Swanson. The reason I put him on here is I guarantee you we're going to see some crazy catches from this guy. He's 6'6", 215, just an absolute red zone killer. So he's going to be one of those guys that you just probably see some crazy catch where he's got like 14-foot wingspan flying up. But the bigger name here for me is Nick Marsh, Michigan State. He is a wildly talented receiver who has had some inconsistent quarterback play to deal with. And I think the quarterback that he's going to be having over in Indiana, we'll talk about later, is going to be a really good fit for him and could potentially be a huge tandem next year. But moving on to the next one, there's a lot more here. We've got Ian Strong, Rutgers to Cal, Eric Singleton Jr., Auburn to Florida, Terrell Anderson, NC State to USC, Isaiah Horton, Alabama to Ohio State, Wyatt Young, North Texas to Oklahoma State, Chase Hendricks, Ohio to Cal, Mylan Graham, Ohio State to Notre Dame, Jackson Harris, Hawaii to LSU, and Devin McQuinn, UTSA to Ohio State. We've got some bigger names on here that are probably a little more familiar to our draft crowd.
I'm going to start with one of the underrated guys because we actually talked about him. Jackson Harris, we talked about him in a previous video about guys we wanted to transfer, guys we're excited about, because I still have no idea how that dude got to Hawaii, but he's in a much better home now.
Yeah.
I'm excited by that because I liked what I saw from his data, and to see him jump from Hawaii to LSU is a really exciting one. So I just wanted to start there.
Okay. I think one of my favorite ones here is actually Chase Hendricks going from Ohio University to Cal. JKS, Jaron Kiwi Sakapolatele.
I'm never saying that.
Yep. He is a phenomenal freshman quarterback that stayed at Cal. I had mentioned I thought he might transfer, but he stayed at Cal.
There's no way
And
he didn't have huge offers.
oh yeah, and Chase Hendricks has been doing really well at Ohio for a while as a slot type player. He's just been an elite, like, comfort position for Parker Navarro, their quarterback there. And I think he could explode onto the scene this year. He was already known by quite a few of the like deep dive draft guys, but I think Chase Hendricks could have a phenomenal year with JKS.
So I just want to take a minute to talk about Ian Strong, because I liked what I saw from him. Talking
Yep.
about literally only one drop all last year. Both of them are kind of like, well, one's more of a shifty one and the other's like a breakaway 50-50 guy.
Yeah.
Those two are going to work well together. I think Ian Strong is going to be the go-to target.
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, and I think Hendricks is going to be the guy they regret doubling Strong for.
Yeah, I think Cal's going to be the team to watch next year, because they've had a good portal, and the quarterback, if you've got the quarterback, it makes things easier. And so it's going to be very interesting to watch them this year, because I think there could be some definitely big plays coming. It just sucks that half the time we're going to be watching it at like 11 o'clock at night, our time.
I'll watch the highlights the next day. I'm too old.
All right. Anything else on those or no?
Just props to Eric Singleton Jr. He didn't have the year that he wanted. So he's
hard to in Auburn where that quarterback play.
Yeah, so a lot of these Auburn guys, the thing they're going to sell you is I didn't have the right guy to get the ball to me. I don't know that Florida, and we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Florida quarterback situation is worse or even the same. I just don't know that it's not a super upgrade. So I'll put a pin on that. And just if you mull that over, my assertion is Florida is not an upgrade for Auburn receivers.
Yeah.
That's just the last beat there.
All right. Into tight ends, which is one of my favorite positions. I love these big guys that can block. Some of them not so big, but we've got Luke Denicky out of Minnesota Duluth to Northwestern, Hunter Provience out of Montana State to NC State, Chris Corbo, Dartmouth to Georgia Tech. Both of the Iowa State guys, Benjamin Brahmer and Gabe Burkle, went from Iowa State to Penn State, followed their coach. Luke Reynolds from Penn State to Virginia Tech followed his coach. Hunter Wilson, Northwestern to Ohio State. Brody Foley from Tulsa is going to LSU, and then Walker Lyons is going from USC to BYU, and Mason Williams is going from Ohio to Ohio State. Any thoughts on any of them?
Honestly, no. I'm currently, like, I reserve the right to be more impressed later, but I think there's a pretty big vacuum at tight end this year and next year.
Okay. So some of the thoughts I have, the Luke Denicky kid had insane production at a lower level. I think he had 1,100 yards, 16 touchdowns. So it'll be interesting to see if he can go to Northwestern and do something similar. And then besides that, I think it's interesting to see the Ohio State guys, because you've got Hunter Welsing, who's probably more of the blocking tight end, kind of like Will Kazmarek, who's there right now and is going to the draft. And then you've got Mason Williams, who's probably more of the receiving threat, who's more like Max Clare, who is also going to the draft. So Ohio State's kind of just doing like a one-for-one swap on the same type of players with the hopes of, having that. And then Brody Foley, 6'6", 260, 533 yards, 7 touchdowns with a 2.00 yards per route run this year at Tulsa. And he's going to Louisville, which is a little bit of a step up in competition. I really like some of the little bit of film I've watched on him so far. So that'll be interesting to see. All right, let's get
I'll
into.
admit, Foley was the only one out of that whole list that I even had on my radar.
Okay. Yeah, the tight ends. Tight ends doesn't seem like a heavy position to be hitting the transfer portal, honestly, unless you're not getting playing time. But offensive tackle. Speaking of heavy positions, um, so offensive tackle. The first set here we've got Natino Olivieri from Penn to Pitt, Jordan Seaton from Colorado to be determined, Jacarius Peak from NC State to South Carolina, Lance Hurd from Tennessee to Kentucky, Xavier Shoplin from Auburn to Florida State, Bryant Williams, Louisiana to Arkansas, Ben Murawski, UConn to Michigan State, and then Drew Terrell, Miami of Ohio to Houston. Thoughts there?
So the first thing I'll say is I could summarize this list with the exception of the one I want to harp on a little bit is these are guys who are either disrespected or underperformed going to places where they have a chance to shine. Like that's a great summary of this list.
Okay.
Jordan Seaton is going to be the number one tackle taken in the 27 draft. You can write that down in ink. He is just going to a place where he can dominate a little bit higher of a level and compete for a national championship. But that is a guy who I've been following, and he's got all the tools that you need. I haven't confirmed the story of how he left, and if he left the way I heard, that's kind of that's bad form. But he's going to get on a field and no one's going to remember. He's so dominant.
Yeah, a couple guys I'll mention. Olivieri and Peak are guys that are undersized for tackles, probably guards in the NFL, but they both have performed really well as pass blockers to this point in their career. I like Peak going to South Carolina to hopefully give Sellers some more consistent blocking. Drew Terrell has been pretty dominant at Miami, Ohio, but it's Miami of Ohio. He's 6'6", 300. He's been playing right tackle. Houston also has an interior offensive lineman we'll talk about here in a little bit. So that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, and then Bryant Williams, just massive, 6'7", 335. That's really why I put him on the list. So
Ben Murawski. He deserves more credit than he gets. I don't have the athleticism intel that other people have, but 6'7", 335. And now I will say this, his pass pro needs work. He is a dominant run blocker. Yeah. So you got this insane run blocker going to Michigan State. He's going to find a happy home, even if he doesn't really develop his pass blocking skills. And I hope he does.
Yeah. All right. So now we've got the interior offensive line. Not as many here, but we've got some on this page to look at. Trent Fraley, center from North Dakota State, is going to Michigan State. Colton Price is going from Baylor to Kentucky, another center. Brock Riker, center from Texas State to Penn State. Shadre Hurst, guard from Tulane, going to Houston. And then Telek Lockett from Texas State to either Rutgers or South Carolina. I don't think they've decided yet. Any thoughts on some of those guys?
Well, Hurst is the jewel of that slide, and I know as high as I am on him, I know that you love him even more, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
The other guys have not pinged my radar just yet, so give some more insight into Hurst.
Yeah, so for me, the reason Hurst, like I saw a little bit of his film, was looking at some of the metrics, and then I read a little bit about how he has this wrestling background as an elite wrestler in the state of Georgia, I believe. And then the more I watched his film, I'm like, my gosh, this guy is just a mauler. Like, he is built like a brick house and just bullies guys from the interior offensive line. And so now he's going up to Houston, which again, Mekhi Hughes is going to, which will hopefully help him. So that could be a very interesting pairing. And then the only other guy I'll talk about is Trent Fraley out of the center out of North Dakota State. North Dakota State has had a run of having some nasty offensive linemen. And so anytime I see a guy like that now going up to the Big Ten, I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Let me see. Let me pay attention to that at least. All right. And that's really it for the interior offensive lineman. Another position that doesn't move around too much. Now we've got quite a few edges. We've got a couple pages here of this. First, Toby Anene out of North Dakota State to Colorado. Thomas Johnson out of NC Central to Cincinnati. Keyshawn Johnson from Tennessee Martin to Syracuse. Prince Will Amamnielen, Ole Miss to be determined.
To be determined.
Yeah. Probably your favorite one, John Henry Daly from Utah to Michigan. Damon Wilson II, Missouri to be determined. And the flashiest one from this offseason, Chaz Coleman from Penn State to Tennessee, where he was getting like all kinds of cars and stuff paraded around to show him how much money he's going to get. What are some thoughts you got here?
You're right. I'm a big fan of John Henry Daly. I would have taken him. I would have taken him this year. And now going to Michigan, he has a chance to shine on, a bit bigger stage. Although the Big 12 is kind of a good place to be. Getting to face top level linemen is really where his upgrade is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big one. And Chaz Coleman, he hasn't really gotten I don't know how many snaps he got.
Yeah, I think he's a 2028 guy, honestly.
Yeah, but he's a 5-star guy. I know that much. And so he's going over to Tennessee, gonna get his chance to shine. So just to put it where it is, Chaz Coleman is more about what people think he can be than production we already know exists.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of love to some of these lower guys. Toby Anene is one of approximately 1,000 players going to Colorado. Colorado loaded up, especially on the defense. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But Thomas Johnson out of NC Central, he had an unreal 2025, crazy pass rush win rate, 15 sacks against lower competition. So he's going to Cincinnati now, and it'll be interesting to see if he can have that same impact at a higher level. Same thing with Keyshawn Johnson out of Tennessee Martin, who also had 14 sacks and 2 forced fumbles last year going up to Syracuse. So those are two guys that, whether or not I follow along too well with them, Cincinnati I will for sure as a fan of theirs. But you've got two of these guys that did everything right at the lower level, and now it's prove yourself at the next level. All right. And then more edge defenders. We got Anto Saka, Northwestern to Texas A&M. Adam Trick, Miami of Ohio to Texas Tech. Zariah Fisher, Penn State to USC. Elo Madozie, I don't know, Georgia to Purdue. Trey White, SDSU to Texas Tech. And Khalil Alexander, Texas State to be determined.
Trey White stands out to me in a lot of ways, but
I'm pretty sure we both had him on our boards for this year before he declared.
Well, so his production is undeniable, but he is short and small. Hopefully he puts on some weight, but that's kind of what's working against him. So he's going to Texas Tech, and apparently they know how to identify talent, but they're betting all in on their production, and it's going to be interesting to see how he performs. I got him at 6'2", 245. 245 is not the worst. It's really not, but it's not. You're talking about a guy who's going to be an outside linebacker, edge rusher at best. So he's gonna have to really show that pass rushing juice, and he's going to have to show a little bit in coverage. But if you're just talking pin your ears back, go get the quarterback, he's gonna do that.
Yeah, Adam Trick, the other guy that's going to Texas Tech from Miami of Ohio, he's a little bit bigger, 6'4", 250, 8 sacks, was a 91.1 pass rush grade. So Texas Tech is reloading. They've also got an interior defensive lineman going to them. So I think their line is going to be very similar.
An interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, so I think you're going to move on to the interior guys, but I want to point out what school's not on that list. What's Miami doing to replace Bain and Messidor?
Yeah, I don't know. There are some guys still in the portal, maybe maybe Damon Wilson's going to go there. So that's going to be interesting because they're losing a lot, but I don't know much about what they have in the wings either. So, all right. So now we got the interior defenders. There's a few more here. Mateen Ibirogba, Wake Forest to Texas Tech. Devin Tompkins, USC to Alabama. Francis Brew, Pitt to Notre Dame. Terrence Green, Oregon to Alabama. James Smith, Alabama to Ohio State. Ian Geffrard, Arkansas to Texas. Stephen Green, Clemson to LSU. Santana Hopper, Tulane to Colorado. And Ezra Christensen, New Mexico to Colorado.
So Santana Hopper is my second favorite Colorado transfer.
Yeah, he's a tweener.
Yeah, he's got to put on some weight, but he's more of an edge rushing interior guy. He needs to improve his run stop rate, and I think the weight is what's holding him back on that one. I just like his production. I like how consistent he is in the pass, and so if he can get a little more stout at the point of attack, he can really elevate his stock at Colorado.
Yeah, so Mateen Ibirogba from Wake Forest is the guy I'm most interested in. He's going to step right in into that Lee Hunter role, I think, for Texas Tech. And I think he has a chance to be a round one guy next year. So I think he's going to be one of the guys I potentially do some summer scouting on and follow along. A couple other notes, Terrence Green is going from Oregon to Alabama, so he's going to a lesser conference. But he's 6'5", 330. He's got a lot of talent. I believe he likely transferred because Amari Washington went back. So he wanted to make sure he was getting the snaps, and Alabama had some guys leave. So I think that's probably what's happening. And then I don't know much about Ian Geffrard, but the dude is 6'5", 387.
Yep.
So
those numbers will get attention.
That's a large person, so I put that in there just to bring that to attention. Anything else before we move on to linebackers?
Not on that list.
All right, linebackers is fun. So we got Rayshawn Miles Jr., Abilene Christian to Georgia Southern, Rasheem Biles, Pitt to Texas, Qua Rusal, Alabama to Ohio State, Cade Uluwave, Cal to BYU, Samuel Omosigo, Oklahoma to UCLA, Austin Romaine, Kansas State to Texas Tech, and Ray Coney, Tulane to Texas A&M. I'm going to go ahead and do this for my pronunciations, but what do you got on those guys?
Go ahead and clip this. Ray Coney is a day 2 pick at worst. At worst. The guy is one of the top 5 graded linebackers in this class, and that's saying something. There are some other names on there I'm pretty sure we're going to cover, but Ray Coney, I was going insane trying to understand why no one was giving him his flowers. And now he's going to Texas A&M, where he'll be on a bigger stage. So I am quite certain that now that there are eyes on him, they will see him for the player he is, and he is special.
Yeah, Rashawn Miles Jr. isn't going from a big jump. It's Abilene Christian to Georgia Southern, but he caught my eye because he was just such an insane playmaker. sacks, forced fumbles, interceptions, tackles for losses. Dude was just all over the place. So he's a guy that caught my attention a little bit. The other one for me is probably Rasheem Biles from Pitt. He had a great year this year. When I put his stuff into my formulas, I was like, wow, how is he not being looked at at a higher level? I thought he was going to declare, but then once he went to the portal, I was like, well, I know he's going to a big school. I thought maybe Ohio State, but Texas makes sense too.
I have
So
the answer to your question. His height.
yeah,
Now, again, I looked at every starter in the NFL. So people are going to tell you that Biles is too small. I'm more worried about him being 215 than I am about him being 6'1". But people have him lower on the board, and the argument was, well, he was doing well in the ACC. So he's kind of in that same category, but that's why people are down on him, because he's a little short and he definitely needs to put on 10 to 20 pounds.
Yeah. All right. Some more linebackers. Aaron
Oh, hold on, you
Carter.
got to go back. You got to mention
Hold on.
Oh,
there we go.
You got to mention Austin Romaine.
Okay.
He might have been linebacker 1 coming into the year, arguably. Kind of a lateral move, but I can just see a guy going like, wow, look at what Jacob Rodriguez did. And I'm that good. So
Yeah.
he's
going to have a defensive line in front of him too.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason Jacob Rodriguez, I think, had such a good year, they had that good defensive line in front of him, which allowed him to just go out there and make plays. And Austin Romaine is going to be in that same situation. He's going to have a great defensive line in front of him, and they're just going to be like, hey, see ball, get ball, like Gideon Lamprin told us. And I think he's gonna do that.
Agreed.
Speaking of Gideon Lamprin, so we got Aaron Carter, Tennessee to be determined. Amari Campbell, Penn State to Tennessee. Our guy Gideon Lamprin from BGSU to Colorado. Leona LaFau from Texas to Colorado. CJ Hicks, Ohio State to USF, and Ethan Wazlowski, North Texas to Oklahoma State. Real quick before we talk about some others, Aaron Carter is a guy. The draft community was really high on him. I wasn't as high on him, but I am hoping that wherever he goes, I get a chance to see what everyone was talking about, because I saw some of the things, but I didn't see consistency. So I believe he likely had some third-round grades, which is probably why he chose to go back, because the talent is clearly there. Like, he has everything you need to be a successful linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see if he can jump up into that like round 1 conversation next year.
Another guy I'm excited to see. I've been following Wazlowski. He has been performing in a great way, so I'm glad to see that he's kind of moved up. The trouble with linebackers is if you don't, then let me go over here. If you're not 6'3", 230, you're going to have to convince people, even though there are plenty of Hall of Famers who aren't 6'3", 230.
Yeah.
But you're not going to generate as much buzz if you don't hit those athletic requirements, because linebackers are the running back of the defense in terms of how undervalued they are. So all of these guys are putting themselves in position to shine a little brighter. But there are a lot of great linebackers who are round 5 UDFA kind of guys, just because teams don't value them until you really locked on to a superstar, and it's kind of a crapshoot. But the NFL is kind of dogged, like, 6'3", 240. All right, I'm drafting him, and like they don't even look at anything else.
Yeah.
But then you lead a conference in tackles for a loss and all this other. Like, yeah, but he's 6'1", he won't be that good. And then every year they're surprised. So it's just kind of the downside to playing linebacker in college, and this at least gives them an opportunity to put more stuff on film, and it's easier to fight in that day 2, round 5 range than it is to be one of those UDFA guy range.
Yeah, and since we spent so much time talking about him this year, Gideon, when I reached out to him, I was like, what are you looking for in where you're going next? And he's like, I just want to play ball. I want to go to a place where I can play, get on the field, and obviously, I'm sure he didn't say this, but the competition level probably has a play in that too. And to me, last year, because of an injury at Bowling Green, he ended up having to be the quarterback of the defense for a while. For the back half of the season, he started to take on a lot more responsibility, and I saw him develop throughout the year, and he kept just being a playmaker. The guy just was always around the ball, getting sacks, tackle for losses. And so I'm really excited to see what he does at Colorado, and he's got that higher profile guy coming from Texas as well, and they also had another FCS guy, I think FCS, that is transferring, that had some incredible stats too. Excuse me. So their linebacker core, I think, is going to be really solid. Plus of all the other defensive positions that they added. So I'm going to be excited to watch that Colorado defense next year. All right. So moving on from here into the cornerbacks. So in the corners, we've got Jontez Williams from Iowa State to USC, Smith Snowden from Utah to Michigan, Bo Masco, Rutgers to Texas, Jeremiah Cooper, Iowa State to Penn State, DJ McKinney, Colorado Notre Dame, and AJ Harris from Penn State to Indiana.
If you are a DB and Indiana gives you an offer, go there.
Yeah.
Go there. Because they can take a 5'8" corner and make him a top 50 prospect. Now that's not to take credit from the dude who went in there and put in the work and just dominated, but AJ Harris had an argument to be in the first round this year, and he's going to go to that team and that defense, and he's either going to excel there and really dominate, or it's going to be understood really quickly why he couldn't produce in Penn State. But I think Penn State just got snake bitten. So, it says I keep moving and fidgeting. I want you guys to know, my couch is built in sections. And in order for me to be sitting in a spot that I think is a relatively decent background, I say that I got my Niner robe because God bless them. It's freezing in my house. But I still try to have some semblance of it. But I'm basically sitting on a pole, and it is not comfortable. But I do it for you. That you get the coverage you deserve. My backside is in agony. But if this is what we need to bring you the draft intel you need, then it's worth it, folks. It's worth it.
There we go. So I'm interested in both the Iowa State guys, too, that one went to USC, one went to Penn State. I'm more interested in Jontez Williams' upside than I am Jeremiah Cooper's. So, I'll be interested to see that as well. But I think I've got some more on the next page. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. One back. We got to, I just got to give a shout out. Yep. Nope. I keep screwing you over there. I'm sorry. Okay. DJ McKinney is I call those guys straight out of casting. He's all the physical boxes you want to check. DJ McKinney checks. How do I phrase this? If you can't shine in the Big 12 with Deion Sanders as your coach, what are you going to do in Notre Dame? And I hope it works out. I do, but their history is going to prove out, because there are a lot of people who want to speak low of Deion right now, and take your shots while you can. But you're talking about a Hall of Fame corner who knows what he's talking about, especially when it comes to film study and work ethic, what it takes to excel. And maybe it's a matter of getting him on the field, letting him get experience. DJ McKinney is going to be a very important case study, but I don't remember the guy's name, but there was another guy who left Colorado, and he's also, I'm going to go there and I'm going to perform. And I forgot his name, and there's a reason. So He's straight out of casting. The tools are all there.
Part of me wonders if it's the flash and attention is too much for some of them personality wise, and maybe that's what happens. Because DJ McKinney is a guy that, like you said, I think can be a very high level player. So he's definitely gonna be someone to watch this year.
Yep.
All right. So then we've got Daniel Harris from Georgia to Cal, Aaron Scott Jr., highly touted out of Ohio State, going to Oregon, Jaquez White from Troy to Virginia Tech, Rayon Strader out of Auburn to Pitt, and then MJ Cannon, originally from Illinois State, then to BGSU, and now to Cincinnati.
So I have one note in my spreadsheet because I was doing my early studies, and I had like Jaquez White with some exclamation points, and then next to it is a 28 prospect.
Yeah, I believe that's the case with him. I'll pull it up real quick.
But I mean, he's already one of the more dominant corners in college football.
Yeah, he had an 85.5 coverage grade, 88.3 run grade this year. Was just he had a sack. He had 3 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. So from a performance standpoint, dude was all over the place.
So he's leveling up too, which is good. But he was at that level at Troy. He was. I don't know the cornerback version of mossing people, but like he was clearly too good for that level of competition. And so I think he's going to dominate the ACC. Like yeah. I want to see Jaquez White versus Malachi Toney. I have popcorn.
Yeah. MJ Cannon's a guy that interests me, partially because I think it's just a little funny that I'm pretty sure my oldest sister went to Illinois State, and then I went to BGSU, and then my wife went to Cincinnati. So that just made me chuckle a little bit. But he also has had a pretty strong performance. He's been consistently in the 70s as a coverage grade, tackler, and run defense. And he had a couple sacks this year. He's made 8 interceptions over the last 3 years. And he's got 10 pass breakups over the last 3 years. His worst passer rating allowed was 77 of the 3 years that he's been a starter. So he's a guy that, not necessarily going to be the biggest name, but going to Cincinnati, he's also 6'3", 205. So he's that big body corner that he's a guy that I feel like could break out. I'm not talking like Sauce Gardner breakout, but I think he could move up a lot in his draft stock by going to Cincinnati and playing against some of those bigger teams in the Big 12.
The best transfer of the year is on the next slide.
All right, let's see it. Safeties, here we go. Vincent Ferenze from Dayton to Wake Forest. Coy Parrish, Minnesota to Oregon. Earl Little Jr., Florida State to Ohio State. Ty Benefield, Boise State to LSU. The guy I believe you were alluding to, Terry Moore, Duke to Ohio State. And then Marcus Neal, Iowa State to Penn State. I'll go ahead and let you talk about Terry Moore.
That's the steal of the offseason, the best transfer portal, position wide, doesn't matter. I don't think Terry Moore is the same athletic profile as Caleb Downs, but he is going to allow Ohio State to continue to be as versatile as it has been. And I'm delighted that Terry Moore is going to recover from this injury and have a chance to show what he got. And he's going to do it at the top level at Ohio State and really just keep that train rolling. And I can't speak highly enough of it. Ryan, you're going to follow him, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. So, like last year, we've been talking about we have a rule that you can't cover guys that we covered last year. But I think the exception we're going to make is Terry Moore because Matt did some summer scouting on him. So I'm going to probably do summer scouting on him as well and give my perspective, which me and Matt share a brain. So it'd probably be very similar. But because he was injured all year, Matt didn't get to give him his, due diligence and actually follow him the years because he never got to play. So I think we're going to give him that, that honest coverage this year through Ohio State. The other guys I want to talk about, Marcus Neal is very high upside from Iowa State, but the draft community, when I posted asking for players to keep an eye out for that we should potentially follow or profile this year, Coy Parrish was a guy that everybody kept putting. So he's going from Minnesota to Oregon. So a step up there for sure and bigger competition. I mean, it's still the same conference, but Oregon's going to have a lot more attention on him. And then the other guy, Vincent Frenze from Dayton, was one of the best safeties in the FCS last year. And so I think he is a guy that moving up to Wake Forest, bigger competition. You were probably still a little ways away from him going into the draft, I believe. Let me double check. But yeah, I think his play at the lower level was pretty impressive. He's also 6'4", 221. Yeah, so he's going to be a junior this year. So he'll probably play 2 years still and come out as a senior. But this year at the FCS level, he had a 91.7 overall grade, 88.8 in coverage, 84.6 in pass rush. He had 3 sacks. He had 3 interceptions, 2 pass breakups. He allowed a 50 passer rating. Dude was just dominant. And he played all over the place, too. He played in the slot. He played on the edge, box, free safety. He's more of a box safety than he is a free safety. Especially that 6'4", 221, like Kyle Hamilton type mold. So he's going to be a guy to pay attention to, I think. I'm not sure if we have any more safety. Let's check.
Yeah, one more batch.
All right. So Teo Johnson from Utah to UCLA, Brandon Fontenette from Vanderbilt to Colorado, Christian Harrison, Cincinnati to Arkansas, Lyric Rawls, Kansas to Arizona State, and Preston Zachman from Wisconsin, Indiana. Any thoughts on any of those guys?
None of these guys are on my radar, so I want to give you a chance to shout any of them out because I'm not really tracking these guys.
Yeah, Christian Harrison was one of the bright spots of Cincinnati's defense this year, and now he's going to go up to the SEC with Arkansas. So just from a Cincinnati fan standpoint, I'm going to pay attention to him. And then I know we had some people that were big Teo Johnson and Lyric Rawls fans in the draft community going into last year. And now they're both moving on to a different school. So those are guys that I think you could end up hearing a lot more of. But getting into what everyone has wanted to talk about, and we're going from the less exciting to the most exciting, but we're going to get into those quarterbacks. So quarterbacks, we've got Walker White from Baylor going to Central Arkansas. He's one of the only other players going from FBS to FCS, which was interesting. Jaden Craig coming from Harvard going to TCU. Braden Atkinson going from Mercer to Oregon State. Air Noland going from South Carolina to Memphis. Austin Novosad going from Oregon to BGSU. And then Colton Joseph going from Old Dominion to Wisconsin. Any thoughts on those guys?
Do not sleep on Jaden Craig. Do not sleep on Jaden Craig. There's a world where he comes out because this class is weaker. I guess I got to put on a tangent. Just stick with me here.
Okay.
Ryan and I are currently debating. I am very sure 3 quarterbacks going round 1, even though 3 quarterbacks should not go in round 1 this year. But it's very rare you have 2 down years. It's happened, and it'll be interesting to see how disciplined teams are because I don't think Ty Simpson should go round 1. Potential-wise, you can argue with me, but those starts are not enough. It's just how it works. But if this kid, Jaden Craig, had come out, I think he's a guy scouts would have fallen in love with. Yeah. So he's one of those guys who's going to come from Harvard and can really just skyrocket his stock in an already presumably loaded class.
Yeah. Couple guys I'll talk about. So the reason I put Braden Atkinson on there is he was the Jerry Rice Award winner, which is the #1 player. It's essentially the FCS Heisman, I believe. So he was the best player in college football for at the FCS level. And he's going to Oregon State. He's got or the best freshman. Sorry, that's what it is. It's the best freshman award. So he's got a couple years left before he's even considered. But anybody that wins that type of award is someone you got to pay attention to. And then these next two guys, Aaron Nolan, Austin Novosad, are like highly recruited guys, big names that are, Aaron Nolan was at Ohio State, didn't win the job, went to South Carolina, assuming he was probably going to have to only sit 1 year behind Sellers, but then Sellers had a bad year and chose to come back. So now he's going to Memphis to get some playing time. And then Novosad is going from Oregon all the way down to BGSU. Nothing against my Falcons, my alma mater, but that is a heck of a jump down. But, man, their quarterback play was rough last year, so I put him on there because I'm just excited about it.
All of those guys, Aaron Nolan, Austin Novosad, and another person I want to mention because he literally just transferred, Alberto Mendoza. Topic one, those people are not going to go to the draft out of those schools. Those are humans who want to get on the field right meow, and they're going to get on the field and then have an opportunity to transfer again. Because like Memphis, Aaron Nolan is not going to air very much at Memphis, but again on the field. Austin Novosad, BGSU is not the quarterback university you want to come from, but you're not waiting behind 3 transfer guys. So you're going to get in there, you're going to throw the rock. And Alberto Mendoza, maybe he should have just waited behind the guy, but he wants to come out in 2 years. So he needs to get on the field and start his 2-year clock. He needs the snaps. Yeah. So even though he's going to run quarterback option left, quarterback option right, first off, Duke can run the rock. And second off, he's just like, these are guys, in my opinion, who they're trying to do the schools a solid and coming in and giving them good play. But they're also, what they're getting out of it is, I'm going to get on the field and get snaps. And then I'll have more doors open to me next year.
Yeah, I could see that. All right. Then we're going to get into Lincoln Keenholz, Ohio State to Louisville, Bo Prabula, Missouri to Virginia, Aiden Childs, Michigan State to Northwestern, Austin Simmons, Ole Miss to Missouri, Kenny Minchie, Notre Dame to Kentucky, DJ Lagway, Florida to Baylor, Rocco Beck, Iowa State to Penn State. This is rounding out the hype but no performance slide. Who do you want to talk about first?
Well, I'm gonna look if that coach had his pick and he went with Kenny Minchie, maybe he didn't have his pick, but the guy who made Dylan Gabriel a 3rd-round pick has a much better prospect in Kentucky. And again, I'm telling you, Kentucky is trying to redo what Indiana has done, and they are off to a very good start.
Yeah. Aiden Childs and Bo Prabula are both interesting to me because Prabula, I thought, had a pretty solid year, actually. And then Childs didn't have the best year, but I know there's some guys that are pretty high on him. My guy Bill Sparks is pretty high on Aiden Childs over the summer. And he's going to Northwestern, which isn't necessarily like the quarterback offense that I would want to go to necessarily. But those are two guys that are both high recruits, lots of talent, but just hasn't necessarily done everything that you want to see. So hopefully they can take a better step this year.
So I've been avoiding a lot of what I call the telling transfers. And what I mean by that is, whether you believe in the depth of the SEC or not, I don't. but the mythos of the SEC is there. And for you to go from the SEC and not go to the Big Ten, like I think Lagway should have gone to Michigan State before he goes to Baylor.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, he went to Baylor for other reasons, and they're good reasons. But DJ Lagway has gone from arguable number 2 overall pick to a guy who, like, he needs to light the Big 12 on fire.
he needs to also stay in school as long as he can.
Yeah, he can't. Well, yeah, he should go back. Like, he needs to light the Big 12 on fire just to reignite the passion that people had. And I followed that Florida line. I am more enamored with Austin Barber than maybe I should be. And I still think that the best center in the draft is Jake Slaughter. I don't know what went wrong in Florida, but it was not that line.
Yeah.
And then the coach comes in and he has DJ Lagway, all the hype in the world, and the coach is like, yeah, no, hit that portal. I hope so much for Lagway because none of the optics, and I can only speak for, like, neither of us are insider guys. We don't have ears. GMs don't talk to us
Yet
we're working on it. But I have no information on what's going on with Lagway, but from my point of view, being told thanks but no, and then no one like Northwestern doesn't call. Like, I don't know who offered. I don't have his list. And maybe while Ryan talks about a guy, I might look at it. But Baylor makes sense in terms of, well, I like it. I think his dad went there, but you go to Baylor from Florida on a bad year, you have to obliterate the Big 12. And I don't see a lot of evidence that you're in a position. I don't see how he's upgraded his situation. So to me, it's like one of the more fascinating things. Do you want to chime in on that?
Well, I'll look at another perspective from not just these guys, but we also had the situation with Damon Williams from Washington, and then now Darian Mensah from Duke, who's Duke is now suing him as well. These people that agreed to stay and then were like, no, I'm kidding. I'm going somewhere else after I already signed a deal, inked the paper already, but I'm going somewhere else now. So it's just another example of like how Wild West it still is, because you've got these guys that couldn't quite cut it at the like you said. If you're going from the Big Ten or SEC and then you're going down and arguably down in conference level, that says something. Like, if you go star there, I'm like, okay, well then why couldn't you star at the other places when everyone in the NFL is Big Ten, SEC? And then when you have the guys that are backing out after NIL deals, it just signals chasing money. And whether or not that's true, I don't know. But it's just one of those things. Those are some of the things that we don't know how teams are going to look at that down the line.
Here comes my dog.
Yeah. So now we'll get into the big names. The last quarterback slide. We've got Patrick Mahomes going from Nebraska to Oregon. Dylan Raiola. Josh Hoover going from TCU to Indiana. Byron Brown going from UCF to Auburn. Brennan Sorsby going from Cincinnati to Texas Tech. Drew Messamaker, North Texas to OK State. Darian Mensah from Duke to, I believe he's going to be Miami. But I'm waiting to find out for sure. And then Sam Levitt going from Arizona State to LSU. Who do you want to talk about first?
The biggest bet is Sam Levitt to LSU. On paper, that looks like a no-brainer. Should help him be in the like surefire round one. Now we're fighting for number 1 overall pick kind of guy. And the real question is is that going to work? I mean, I
Yeah.
hope it does, because I still love Sam Levitt. My brother hates him now, but I hope the best for him. But you got to admit that there's some debate in that. So I'm going to pop off screen to let my dog out before he starts yelling at me, because he's being nice right now. So keep on going. I am listening.
Yeah, I'll talk to a couple of my guys here. So real quick, Raiola, I'm not necessarily his biggest fan, but he's likely redshirting going to Oregon. And by redshirting, I mean he's just not going to play. He's going to sit behind Dante Moore and then take over and hopefully be able to flash his last year before Kansas City drafts him. And then the two that I'm actually most interested in, besides maybe Mestamaker, are Brendan Sorsby and Josh Hoover. As a Bearcats fan, my wife is a Bearcats grad. My son says he wants to play for the Bearcats. Love Brendan Sorsby. Fully admit that he was having some questionable decision making and inconsistency towards the end of last year, which definitely helped the poor coaching lead them to like a 5-game losing streak to end the season. But he has so much talent. He's got a lot of the tools that guys want, that coaches want. He can run absolutely, and he's got a good arm too. And he can make all the placement throws you need. He just needs to be more consistent with his mechanics and his decision making. Like if up here gets fixed, I think he's gonna take a leap, and he's going to Texas Tech. So it's going to be an interesting one there. But then Josh Hoover going from TCU to Indiana. Josh Hoover, because I followed Eric McAllister this year, I got to watch a lot of Josh Hoover. And he has such a beautiful deep ball. Like it may not be like the biggest arm in the world, but he throws one of the nicest deep balls in college football, in my opinion. And he is just accurate. He doesn't like he does not want to run, but he can run. And honestly, I'm at the point where if Kurt Signetti is like, hey, come here because I have faith in you, that says something to me now, because Kurt Signetti is clearly one of the top coaches in all of football right now. And he probably could have had his pick of quarterbacks and chose Josh Hoover. And then with those wide receivers that he has going there with Nick Marsh, and I honestly think Josh Hoover could have a phenomenal season. Charlie Becker is going to be catching some deep passes from him like crazy next year. So I think that's going to be very, very interesting to see. And then Drew Messamaker is probably the coolest story. He's the guy that hadn't started at all since, like, he didn't start in high school at all. So he hadn't played in forever, really. And then his coach in North Texas was he won the job there. And he was an absolute star this year with some insane games, nonstop high-flying highlights. And now he's going to Oklahoma State, following his coach. And he definitely won't be coming out next year. It'll be the year after that, probably, with Arch in 2028, which I'll let Matt speak to that in a little bit if he wants. But that's when we think Arch is coming out, 2028. But Mestamaker is one of those guys. Can he continue to do it at OK State, a bigger school potentially? But anything on Hoover, Sorsby, or anything like that, Matt?
So I haven't dug into Hoover, so I want to be fair. What I saw from, like, I listened. I think you're right. Hoover's a deep ball specialist. Without really digging into it, I don't know that Hoover has the same kind of range. I don't know that Hoover skyrockets from fringe day one to number one overall. But
He's
I also
go
don't
in the Bo Nix spot to me.
Huh?
He's gonna go in the Bo Nix spot to me. Like he's that guy that is going to end up he's going to end up going in the middle of round. If he has the season I think he can have at Indiana, he's going to go middle of round 1. And he's going to go to a team that can be very successful. His last 3 years, he wasn't the full-time starter in 2023, but in 2024 and 2025 he was. His time to throw 2.51, 2.45, 2.54. The guy has great decision making. Sometimes his mechanics can get a little rough. He can take some sacks, but he's got everything you need. Just maybe not necessarily the athlete that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are now.
So we'll see kind of where he goes and where he develops. I have no doubt that he'll play well within the system of Indiana. I'm fascinated by him because I don't know that outside of Oregon and Kentucky, you can argue LSU, but there are some scheme things going on there. I don't think anyone can help themselves more by going to Indiana. And so it's going to be an interesting case study to kind of see how that all comes together while also evaluating Mendoza's rookie year. That's going to say a lot for Indiana as a program.
Yeah. So, all right. So again, we just hit like 140 players. So that may be somewhat overwhelming. And it's literally 1% of the draft. There are so many more players that moved and are going to have impacts. There's guys that we didn't mention that will end up being stars this year that we'll end up having to talk about later on. But the portal is crazy. And I'm hoping that the NCAA can do something to rein it in a little bit. Because otherwise it every year is going to be like a culling.
I think now is an appropriate time for me to be honest. It doesn't want to. Because you get the coaches on the microphone and they'll say how terrible it is, and they're not lying to you. But isn't it great to be Lane Kiffin and watch Sam Levitt play and be like, oh, I'll just give him a portal next year?
Yeah.
Isn't it great for Miami to be like, hey, now, just to be fair to Mensa, that situation's different than Washington because I guess Mensa, for the lack of a better term, from my understanding, has kind of signed a long-term contract. And
I believe he signed. Yeah, he signed.
And he asked out of it, and they said yes.
Yeah.
And then they said never mind. Now at the end of the day, you sign a contract. Like I get it. So you got to kind of take it for what it is. But people are acting like someone has to come in and do a thing. Like they're talking as if someone else is doing it.
Yeah.
But they're not. It's the coaches and the GMs who are taking advantage of a situation that they're going to complain about until the guy they want is eligible to hit the portal, and then they have no issue with it. The only time they're mad is, I don't want to lose the guys I have. I want to go get guys I don't have. And that's disingenuous.
Yeah, for me, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see some adjustments to the timing of the portal, because it's definitely not fun watching a lot of the bowl games that you had third stringers playing. And while it's great that those guys get some play time and there's some good stories that come out of it, it's not doing justice to the game. And I also want there to be some protections for the players, some maybe some potential mandatory, putting some of the money that they get from NIL into trusts or something like that, that they get after they play, because it's like a bomb waiting to burst right now. And But yeah, but it is what it is. It definitely makes it nice for some content. I made the mistake this year of setting my Twitter notifications on everything for On3 and some of those guys, the transfer portal On3. I was like, in my every 2 seconds, my phone was like ding, 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 ding. I was like, what is happening? I had to turn it off because I was getting stressed out just trying to do anything at work and just thought the world was ending. No, nope, it's just the transfer portal.
So yeah, I everyone knows someone should do something, but the reality is, if you're just being honest, they don't want to, because really Sankey can snap his fingers, and the only person who can stop him, and I don't have the Big Ten commissioner memorized, but like those two can clap their hands and it'll happen. But you know, on a podium, they're like, "Oh, it's terrible." It's like the only thing they agree on that will change is the start of the season and the alignment between the portal and the season. But that's because it hurt coaches. But it does not hurt. It hurts kids.
Yeah.
It hurts kids that there's no accountability. There's no real structure to the portal. But these coaches, you get them off camera. Yeah, sure, they don't like it that it's fair because it's a free for all, and they're like, no, I want free for me, and I'm like, see, you don't want fair, you want unfair. But they, by their actions, have already shown they would rather be unfair for everyone than fair for everyone. Because if it's unfair for everyone, the one with the biggest wallets win. So you're still helping your blue bloods, and because you're not going to convince me, but like the Big Ten and the SEC can't be like, yeah, no, let's make these rules for the portal, and like who's going to stop them? Like nobody wants to stop it, and so I like, even now I'm a little heated, not at you, but like everyone's going to talk like it's this huge problem, and it is, but the people with the most immediate ability, they could fix it tomorrow if they really wanted to. It is not as hard as the big media is making it, because literally, like, we went from 4 to 12 overnight because SEC and Big Ten said okay. And if we go to 14 or 16, it's because literally by contract the Big Ten and the SEC say okay. So just stop lying, stop pretending that you want this to change.
Yeah. So, well, that's the transfer portal. Like I said, there's still some to be determined out there. Lots of guys looking for homes. But coming up over the next few weeks, we've got our final shadow team wrap up next week. So we'll be back next week instead of a 2-week break. We're gonna come right back next week. This is the marathon now, marathon to the draft. So we're gonna wrap up our shadow teams and start looking at the players we are going to be looking at, which we've already been doing that, but we're going to let you into that process. And then the following week, February 3rd, we're going to have our college all-star game standout. So we're going to talk about the games that start this Thursday. Thursday is the American Bowl. The Hula Bowl already happened. And then I think the 27th is the East-West Shrine. And then the few days later is the Senior Bowl. So lots of games coming up, and then the combine shortly after that. But pretty much all the month of February, we're going to be talking about our top 10s, starting on the defensive side of things. We're going to get through the defense in February. And then the first week of March, we're going to recap the combine because that'll be over. And then March will be all about March and early April will be all about the offense because that's what people care about. Our top 10s, and then the draft happens. So the week of the draft, we'll have probably we'll have our final big boards, as well as some live round stuff. We're still looking at, we have some potential player interviews coming up as well that we're hoping to get going. Those guys are going through the process of transferring and things like that right now. So giving them some time, hopefully be able to reach out soon. But it's about to be a fun next few months. Lots of content, and we all thank you for joining us every time. Like we always say, like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next show.